kaki mungo gaga. Siniful onyala. David Jones, David. Naibo and Codin, Natigbobo. Siniful onyala. Imama wanamo. She don't wanna me say he go beat us, and the only thing when they make me high. And when he high, he don't do I'm like he go dumb. And he go say I am feeling like to run. And when he run, that's when them go they talk. And when he shell it, I feel go say, in mama wanna move. In papa wanna move. I already bought my suit. The honeymoon for before Takwabi. But you know, yeah, in mama wanna move. Stop it, you know, yeah. Now we day, yeah, but left. Stop it, you know, yeah. Now we day. I think I don't have beg you, banana bastard. I see you every day, you take them like a custard. If I'm happy, you want mad. Stop banana before you feel me so sad. When it starts, he go do you like he crocodile. And you go say, I am feeling like to run. And when you run, that's when them go they talk. And when he shell it, that belly go say, in mama wanna move. Stop it, boy. In papa wanna move. I already bought my suit. The honeymoon for before Takwabi. But you know, yeah, in mama wanna move. Stop it, you know, yeah. Now we day.
Open forum on X Space. On this day, Friday, 25th of August, 2023, live from Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. We're glad to have you once again to exchange ideas and benefit from experts who will be speaking with us on the topic for today, and that is mental health and the challenge of substance abuse among Nigerian youths. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to this space today. Once again, my name is Femi Babafemi. For those listening or joining us from across the world, be you in Europe, America, Asia, Middle East, and even the rest of Africa, we're glad to have you wherever you are. If your time is AM, good morning to you. And if it's in the noon, good afternoon. And if it's later in the day, very good evening to you. Like I said, this is NDL's Open Forum on X Space. This is a platform where we share information about substance abuse and the dangers therein. It is also a platform or a channel for us to update you about all the activities of the agency. That is Nigeria's premier anti-drug agency. That is the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. Especially when we are doing to cope with the menace of substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking, as well as getting your feedback so that we can continue to do what we know how to do better, serving you better. This conversation, I'd like to tell you, is recorded and is streamed live on our other social media handles at NDLA01 on Facebook and at NDLA_Nigeria on YouTube and Instagram. You can always go back and listen to the recording and share with others. For those who may miss it, please, you have the recording on our handle after this conversation. You can always go back there, pick it, share it, and let as many that would like to learn about this all-important topic, also benefit. Before I invite our guest today to make his presentation, you would love to meet this great Nigerian, excellent, brilliant, and very rich profile. If I were to be a patient, mere reading his profile will get me well, I tell you sincerely. Now, before we get to him, let's remind all of us about some of the activities of the agency this week in our news highlight segment, which will be taken by a regular Blessing. Blessing, over to you. Let's get the updates from you.
Thank you, sir. Good day to everyone, and thank you for joining us on this week's X Space. My name is Blessing Tarfa, and here are the NDLEA news highlights for the week. NDLEA raids drug warehouse in Lagos, recovers 4.8 billion naira worth of opioids, intercepts $20 million counterfeit notes in Abuja, arrests wanted teenage bandit in Sokoto, another teenager for drugs in Enugu. Multi-billion naira worth of illicit drugs were again seized at a warehouse tucked in the midst of popular international trade fair complex Alaba Ojo area of Lagos by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency on Saturday, 19th August. Recovered from the warehouse owned by a wanted billionaire drug baron include 1.4 million pills of tramadol, 225 milligrams, weighing 826 kilograms, 3.2 million pills of codeine with gross weight of 3,360 kilograms, and 2,841 cartons of codeine syrup containing 284,100 bottles with 28,410 liters of the psychoactive substance, with a combined street value of 4,820,500,000 naira. During the operation that lasted hours, a suspect, Paulinus Ojuku, who is chief security officer to the wanted drug baron who parades as automobile spare parts dealer, was arrested and now assisting ongoing investigation. The latest drug warehouse bust is coming on the heels of the arrest of a drug baroness, Faith Ebele Nwanko, who was nabbed on Wednesday, 9th August, with 2,750,000 pills of Tramaking, a brand of tramadol, 225 milligrams, and 250 milligrams recovered from her residence at House 6, C Close, 3rd Avenue, Festac area of Lagos, and a warehouse located at Plot 3432 Shola Akinshola Street, Divine Estate, Amuwo Odofin, Lagos. Meanwhile, operatives on Friday, 18th August, intercepted $20 million notes suspected to be counterfeit during a stop and search operation along Abaji Lokoja Road within the Federal Capital Territory. The suspected fake money was recovered from a bus coming from Lagos to Abuja, while the 53-year-old driver of the vehicle, Onyebuchi Inlededin, was arrested. The previous day, Thursday, 17th August, Jude Ndubisi, 52, was arrested with 2.2 kilograms of methamphetamine during a raid operation at Kabusa Village FCT. The suspect was initially arrested with 20.75 kilograms cannabis on 7th July 2022 and was on court bail following his ongoing prosecution when he was nabbed for yet another drug crime. Another raid of two notorious drug joints within the FCT, Day Day and Tora Bora Hills, led to the recovery of 82.8 kilograms skunk, 1.8 kilograms prophenol, and 1.2 kilograms diazepam on Wednesday, 16th August. In Oshun, NDLEA operatives in the early hours of Saturday, 19th August, destroyed clusters of cannabis farms measuring about 3.49000 hectares, over 7.5 tons at Mopatedo in Ifedayo local government area of the state. Two suspects, Sunday Otogbo, 40, and Peter Andel Makra, 35, were arrested inside the cannabis farms. Additional 30 kilograms cannabis, 16.9 kilograms of cannabis seeds were also recovered from the farms. At least three suspects, Ndubisi Okori, 44, Ebilema Emmanuel, 38, and Okechukwu Anthony Smart, 40, were arrested in connection with the seizure of 168 kilograms cannabis consignment from them when their vehicle was intercepted along Owerri-Onitsha Expressway, Imo State, on Saturday, 19th August. Another shipment of controlled drugs containing 6,000 capsules of tramadol, 1,200 tablets of Spinol, 155 bottles of codeine syrup, and 20 tabs of Molly was equally seized on the same road on Sunday, 13th August, while a follow-up operation in Oyibo area of Port Harcourt, River State led to the arrest of the owner of the consignment, Remigius Ogechukwu, 33. While a teenager, Boniface Odinat Kuchuku, 19, was apprehended with 99.4 kilograms skunk at Isikwe Road, Achi, in Oji River local government area, Enugu State, on Friday, 18 August. A wanted teenage bandit, Ali Mohammed Altine, 19, was arrested by NDLA operatives along Ilela Sokoto Road with some wraps of skunk on Thursday, 17 August. The suspect, who is on the wanted list of the police, has since been transferred to the police in Sokoto State for further investigation. While expressing his satisfaction with the professional conduct of the officers and men involved in the Lagos, FCT, Sokoto, Osun, Imo, and Enugu operations, as well as the results of the raids, Chairman Chief Executive Officer of NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, charged operatives of the Lagos Command to ensure that the fleeing Baron is smoked out from his hiding to face charges. He urged them and their colleagues across the country to intensify the heat on drug cartels. In another report, NDLEA launches manhunt for Lekki drug dealer who crushed operative to escape arrest. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has launched a manhunt for a Lekki, Lagos-based notorious drug dealer, Showunmi Ayodeji Kayode, who is now on the run after driving his luxury car to crush an NDLEA officer in his bid to escape arrest when operatives were on a search of his house last weekend. Anti-narcotics officers of the agency had on Friday, 18 August, stormed the residence of the wanted drug dealer located at 23 Adetola Ayeni Close, Lekki, Lagos, for a search and possible arrest following credible intelligence that he was dealing in illicit drugs in his house. Although he was not in the house when operatives got into his compound, he, however, returned while a search of his apartment was ongoing. In a dramatic twist, as soon as he drove into the premises and sighted NDLEA officers, he engaged his car in reverse gear, knocked down one of the officers, pulled down his gate before plunging the vehicle into the fence of the opposite compound. The force of his car's speed also pulled down the concrete wall of his neighbor's compound, and from there he dived out of the vehicle to escape. A thorough search of his apartment, however, led to the discovery of 10.5 kilograms of loud, while the operative knocked down suffered multiple injuries all over his body and compound fracture on his two legs, for which he is currently on hospital admission for treatment. Following the unpleasant development, the Chairman Chief Executive Officer of NDLEA, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, has directed the deployment of appropriate operational assets of the agency to smoke out the wanted suspect from his hiding. He also approved adequate medical care for the injured officer so that he can get back on his feet as soon as possible. That's it on arrests and seizures. Now, here are the WADA activities across the country for the week. The Ogun State Command of NDLEA on Tuesday, 15 August, paid a WADA advocacy visit to the State First Lady, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun. The agency identifies the Governor's Wives Forum as a useful platform for promoting the war against drug abuse across the country. On Thursday, 17 August, the Osun State Command facilitated a WADA sensitization lecture on the dangers of substance use at Sabo Market, Osogbo. The agency concluded the lecture by advising traders to avoid illicit substances and instead seek better, healthy living choices. On the same day, the Yobe State Command hosted the state leadership of the Nigerian Union of Journalists to discuss partnership on WADA advocacy. This is in line with the agency's goal of making the war against drug abuse more widespread. The Kano State Command also on Thursday, 17 August, delivered a drug education lecture to pupils of Daruka Amia, Sabongari, Wudil local government area. The agency took a peer learning approach to emphasize the for a successful future. On Friday, 18 August, the Anambra State Command delivered Anglican Church, Obosi, and at St. Mary's Catholic Church, Oka. The agency enlightened the congregation. Pertinent, they include drug education in their sermons. Concluding the WADA activities for the week was a sensitization lecture delivered to residents of Amoke Autonomous Community, Udi local government area, conducted by the Enugu State Command of the NDLEA. The agency highlighted the societal ill and threats that drug use poses to communities and why they must take stricter measures in disavowing drug use to restore the values of their communities. That's the update for this week. My name is Blessing, and I hand you over to our host, Mr. Femi Babafemi.
Thank you very much, there, Blessing, and welcome back from the news highlight segment. Now let's remind ourselves about some of the rules guiding our engagement on this program today. As usual, when we approve you to be on the speaker's corner, please ensure you remain muted until after our guest presentation. I will start inviting individuals to unmute themselves to ask questions and make contributions in few seconds. Please let's keep it short, precise, and straight to the point so that we can I can see the interest this conversation is already generating. So let's try as much as possible to make it short so that we can have as many people as possible speak. Okay, let's go on now. Okay, like I was saying, when we approve you, bring you on the speaker's corner, please ensure you remain muted until after our guest presentation. I will then start inviting each and every one to ask their questions or make contributions in few seconds. We do not encourage unauthorized interruption. Please, again, we do not encourage unauthorized interruption, and we also do not discuss politics on this program. We try as much as possible to make our conversations strictly about substance abuse and how we can get help for those who are already in this big trouble. Now, let's also remain guided so that we can all enjoy our conversations, so that we can all benefit from the presentations, questions, and answers, so that ultimately our expected goal would be met and achieved. Thank you once again for your cooperation. Today's program, like we often do, we try as much as possible to make it very interactive as much as possible. We also want to respond to all your questions and take contributions on today's subject of discussion. So please stay calm and let's enjoy the conversation. I have seen our guest who has been in and out of the platform. I hope his network is stable by the time we get to him. We'll soon get to him, but quickly let's quickly remind us about the NDLA call center. This is another initiative from the agency to ensure that nobody has an excuse, especially those who are suffering from substance abuse, their family members and relations, friends. We do not want that excuse that, because of the fear of stigmatization, because of the fear of being judged, you cannot seek help when you indeed need help. And so the agency has provided this call center with a toll-free helpline for people to call and get the needed help. There at the center, we have mental health experts. We have quite a number of professionals who would take your calls and attend to you. The number to reach, through which you can reach them, is 0800 10203040. I repeat again, 0800 10203040. Please note that this line is a special toll-free line. It's a 12-digit number and not your regular 11-digit number, as some people assume, and as a result, they have edited one of the zero after 8 and giving them 11 digits, and as a result, they've not been able to reach the call center. Please, is a 12-digit special number. It's not 11 digits. So the number again is 0800 10203040. Let's keep calling them. Let's keep reaching out so that to the number to those at the center, so that we can get help to as many as possible. Once again, we have there at the center counselors, psychologists, psychotherapists, psychiatric doctors, and all the support workers, mental health professionals, and they are ready to support you and your loved ones at any point in time. And don't also forget that the center is open, is available on the phone 24/7, meaning that You can call them in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, at night, in the wee hours, in the early hours of the day. They are there running shift 24/7. Please, let's encourage those that are struggling with this menace to seek help, especially by calling this toll-free helpline to be able to speak and access help from our professionals there. Let's quickly let me quickly, before we get on to our guests, I hope Francis can reach out to him now. Maybe he's struggling with his network. Okay, let's quickly acknowledge some of our regulars on the space, those that are already prepared to be a part and part of the conversation today. Top on the list here, the undisputable senior member of the show, of the program, that is Dr. Kemi Onunloyo, who is joining us from the US. Thank you, Dr. Kemi, for your time, for your contribution, and your sacrifice always. God bless your spirit. God bless your love for humanity. Thank you again, our own John Ogunjimi. I can see you in one corner there with your hand always supporting your shake. Thank you very much, John. Thank you again. I have seen again another patriotic. I think, where did she go? I saw her. Okay, well, Kem Patriot, I call her Kem. Kem, thank you for being part of us today. It's a great one. Thank you again. Okay, thank you, Olakunle Abiodun, Event MC Maestro, Bashiru Ibrahim. Okay, that's Bashir Ibrahim. Sorry, I almost missed that. That Bashir Ibrahim is our commander. So, well, please, there is somebody who is, please get muted, ensure that you are muted. Okay, I think it's our guest speaker. I've muted him. When the time comes, I will invite him to unmute himself so that he can make his presentation. And that will be coming in a short while. Okay, our own commander there, Zona Commander Parabawa, thanks for being part of the conversation today. We also want to thank Engineer Kingsley Okafor. I see you there, Farouk. Thank you, everyone. We have quite a number of people. Femi Adeolu, thank you for being part of the conversation today. Let's quickly move swiftly because of time. So let's quickly introduce our guest today. Like I said before, honestly, if we have to read his full profile, if you are a patient, that is, if you are somebody who is struggling with substance abuse or mental health issue, if you just mere reading his profile, I'll tell you, you get well. Because the moment I read his profile, I just wish, but then I quickly killed that idea that no, I'm not ready to be in that space. Okay, now we have with us on this space. I will invite him as soon as I'm done with his profile. Then I will invite him to make his presentation. I think I'm not. Okay, Francis, please keep an eye on our guest so that we can to be sure that his network is stable. I wouldn't know why he's off and on. Please keep an eye and keep contact, keep in touch with him so that as soon as I'm done with this, with his introduction, then he can continue. He can start his presentation. Now, Dr. Nkwobu Abolo Kennedy is an associate professor of psychiatry, University of Port Harcourt, that's in Rivers State. He's also a fellow of the West African College of Physicians and consultant neuropsychiatrist, mental health physician, University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. That's also in Rivers there. Okay, he also subspecializes in public mental health, neuropharmacology, and addiction medicine. Dr. Nkwobu has a PhD in public health, that is health systems management. He also has a master's degree in pharmacology, a master's in public health, and another master's in medical education. That's awesome. Now, okay, Dr. Mpobu also passed the international credentialing professional degree examination for substance abuse addiction to obtain the international certified addiction professional ICAP degree. Wow. Now, Dr. Mpobu has also undertaken a certificate program in leadership and management from the prestigious Washington University. He has served on many national technical committees on drafting policies and guidelines in the field of. Okay, let me mute Dr. Mpobu again. Okay, Dr. Mpobu is back there. Okay, just remain muted, Doc. Where as soon as I'm done with this, reading the abridged version of your profile, then we invite you to unmute yourself and go ahead with your presentation. Oh, okay, where did I stop? Dr. Mpobu. Dr. Mpobu is still. Okay, Dr. Mpobu has served on many national technical committees on drafting policies and guidelines in the field of substance use disorders and addiction, including the recently launched Nigerian National Guidelines for Treatment of Substance. Dr. Mpobu, if you can hear me, can you mute yourself? I'm trying to mute you from here.
Yeah. It's muted. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you have to. Yeah, I can hear you, Dr. Mpobu.
It's muted now. It's muted.
No, if it's muted, you won't be able to speak to me. You can only hear me until I ask you to unmute yourself. That okay? Now you are muted. You can only hear me, but you won't be able to speak. Now you are muted. So, okay, let me quickly round up your going through your profile, a brief version of your profile. Okay, as I was reading, Dr. Mpobu has served on many national technical committees on drafting policies and guidelines in the field of substance use disorders and addiction, including the recently launched Nigerian National Guidelines for Treatment of Substance Use Disorders and the National Guidelines on Medication-Assisted Treatment, that's MASS for Opioid Use Disorders. Dr. Mpobu is a recipient of the prestigious Fellow Award of the World Psychiatry Association as an early career psychiatrist and was recently appointed as a fellow of the International Organization for Academic and Scientific Development. Dr. Mpobu is a former head Department of Mental Health and Neuropsychiatry at the University of Port Harcourt / University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. He has equally headed the UNODC Model Drug Treatment Rehabilitation Center at the University of Port Harcourt. I'm sure that's a teaching hospital there. His research interest includes neuropsychiatry, neuropharmacology, public mental health, and addiction medicine. He was appointed as journal executive editor by SCR Journal of Psychiatry and Neuroscience and also an editorial board member for the Journal of Brain and Neurological Disorders. He has over 70 publications to his credit in both local and international journals, chapters in referred books, and a monogram presented. He has also presented over 60 papers in both national and international conferences and given over 40 public lectures on mental health and substance use disorders. He is currently serving as an editorial board member of several reputable journals. I wish we are all gathered in one hall, but even though this is a virtual one, but I wish we can all unmute ourselves and give us a very loud ovation, clapping for Dr. Nkwobu. But then the rules of our engagement here will not allow that, and I'm sure technology would also not allow that to happen at this moment. It is my very singular honor and privilege to invite Dr. Nkwobu Apollo Kennedy, Associate Professor of Psychiatry and Consultant Neuropsychiatrics and Mental Health Physician, to kindly unmute himself and let's listen to him make his presentation for the next 35 minutes thereabout before all the questions come his way. Thank you very much, Dr. Kennedy, for joining us. Please unmute yourself now and let's listen to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fem program. Uh, are you hearing me? Are you
Yes,
hearing
go
me?
ahead. We can hear you. Everyone, we are all hearing you all over the world. Thank you very much.
All
Go
right.
ahead,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Uh, once again, I have to sincerely thank you for inviting me to be part of this interesting program of yours and to be with you for in this Earth space. Well, straight away, I must thank you people for organizing this program. I feel that there's no better time than now to talk about mental health and, of course, focusing more on the prevalence of substance abuse, particularly among the youths in our country. The time we are in, of course, is a very difficult period. It's a very stressful period for us here in the country, and I feel that is the very appropriate time to talk about mental health and some of the other discussions that conversation will be having today. The economy, as you can see, is of course not smiling for us. It's a time that people even find it difficult to achieve the usual 3 square meal. And of course, particularly for our youths, which have formed the focus of our discussion today, the unemployment rate continue to increase. Many of them finish their formal education and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, they are still on the street looking for a job. Even our businessmen are also finding it difficult. I'm talking about the things that are making situations difficult for us in the country, and those are things that speak for good mental health. When once they are not there, it will be difficult for one to say that people are enjoying good mental health. And then, of course, we delve into talking about, particularly today, substance abuse. There is link because if people are not enjoying good mental health, definitely they will be more vulnerable to looking for solutions. And one of the maladaptive solutions people quickly look for is self-medicating themselves with different forms of substances of abuse. So as I was saying, the uh, the pensioners, our elders, are also not finding it easy because everywhere you hear cry now and then that they retired so many years ago and nothing has happened. The environment we live in is also not friendly. There is environmental pollution here and there, and of course they'll be impacting our health, our mental health, and then of course treating us and treating particularly the vulnerable ones to using substances of abuse. Well, they're not just the fault of the government. A lot of social amenities, which of course they are supposed to help make life easy for us, as other basic water, food, there's the air even we breathe. The natural air that God gave us is also, of course, heavily polluted, sometimes because of environmental activities that are going on. Now, this is not, all these are also not sparing the family, which is the fabrics of the society. So you see a lot of havoc going on by all these that are happening. There's a lot of child abuse. Many people, because in an attempt to find solutions, make ends meet, they ask children, young ones, to go on the street, even those that are underage, and they walk on the street in the name of, these are all forms of child abuse. It goes beyond that, manifesting to actual child and, of course, spousal battery. Family quarrels, marital problems, they are all the problems we meet every day. And we are also not immune from the effect of natural disasters. In this environment, the one we see often is
Well, I think again, Dr. Umpabu must be having issues with his network again. Yes, we can't hear him from this end. I just confirmed that from my other colleagues in other centers now. Okay, I guess when his network stabilizes, he would definitely continue with his presentation. But at the moment, I'll ask Francis, please. Yeah, I know he's still on the space, but I guess his network is frozen, so we can't really hear him. Okay, thank you. There, let's exercise some patience. But then let me quickly once again appreciate Apesha Namdi Emmanuel. I almost I actually overlooked the fact that you are there. I already assumed you are an officer of the agency, so that's why, because you are always the first to be on the speaker's corner there, so that's why I please pardon me there. Thank you very much, Petra, for being a part of this again today. Okay, there is something I brought to our attention earlier. Francis, please liaise with Dr. Umpobu. He may have to exit and return. Maybe his network would be better then. Okay, but then there was something I tried to draw our attention to earlier, and that has to do with our call center. I've gotten some people who say they can't reach the center and all those kind of things. But when I asked them, what number did you call, I discovered that indeed, rather than calling the 12 digits, just a moment, please. Rather than calling, sorry for that, rather than calling the 12 digits number, they usually, rather than calling 080 0800 they just dial 08010. They will meet the second zero after 8. There are 2 zeros after 8. So it's a 12 digit, it's not for 11 digits. It's a 12 digit special line because it's toll free and is dedicated for public service. So that's why it's that way. So please, let's share that information so that those who obviously thought that what we gave out was wrong. No, we're not wrong. It's a 12-digit line, and I call it again is 0800 10203040. That is the number to call. And when you call that number, we have our professionals out there, like our psychologists, our counselors, our psychotherapists, our psychiatric doctors, mental health experts, and even support workers. They are all available to assist you and support you, especially to guide you through recovery and also ensure that you are well reintegrated back to the society and reunited with your family. That's a cardinal function of the drug demand reduction mandate of the agency. Again, please let's ensure that we call the right number. And there at the center, we have professionals who would speak with you in English, in Pidgin, and if you can't speak any of these languages, if it's Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, you can speak. There are dedicated days they would be able to attend to you on these major national languages in Nigeria here. That is Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba languages. We have our professionals who will be able to attend to you in any of those languages. Okay, if I guess Francis, you need to get in touch with Dr. Kennedy to exit first and then come back because he's still on the space, and I'm sure he would be going. Yeah, I think it's better now. He would have to come back. Dr. Mpobo, if you can hear me now, you have to. Okay, now I think, let me get him back. Hello, doctor, can you hear me now? Please unmute yourself. Yes.
Are you with me?
We lost you early in your presentation, so if you can hear me, we actually lost you. Your network was frozen, so you may have to start somewhere around where you were talking about some social issues that lead people to substance abuse. That's where we lost you.
Okay, so I'm very sorry, sir. So I've listed those social problems and how they link substance abuse. That many people otherwise should have found so-called normal coping skills, coping mechanisms, which involve talking to friends, verbalizing, going to church, looking for some other things to do that will be helpful. But instead, the people now look for maladaptive, resort to maladaptive mechanism, which one of the we're talking about today is substance abuse. And that brought me to the issue of substance abuse. I guess this was the point you were no longer hearing. And so I said that the issue of substance abuse, drug abuse, is a menace today in our country. It's a health problem, and of course, the public health problem. The largest drug survey that was done in the country, one, of course, and still standing as the largest, was that done by the United Nations Office for Drug and Crime in collaboration with the Federal Minister of Health. That study spanned over 3 years, 2016, 17 to 2018. And the report was launched in 2019 at Abuja. Now, when that report was launched, they found an alarming result, and it was so bad, so alarming that they found the past year use of drug standing at the prevalence of 14.4. Now, when you extrapolate this to the current population of the country, now slightly going above 200 million, that shows that about 14.3 million Nigerians are using drug. And I took a time to now explain how bad this situation is. That the global prevalence of substance use is standing at 5% currently, but we got 14.3%. That's almost about three times the current global prevalence. And I also relate this that when HIV was a problem, was a scourge, that the prevalence did not go beyond 3.5 to about 4 million. But we have in our hands now a situation that as large as 14.3% of our million population of Nigeria are currently using drug, at least in the past 1 year. So I said that this put the Nigerian government, it was a surprise to them, and of course it put the Nigerian government on their toe. And the immediate measure that was done was the setting up of the Presidential Committee on Eradication of Substance Abuse. Of course, many of us on this space will be aware of that because our current boss in NDLEA now was the one that headed the committee. I guess because of the good work he did to set the background for all this, he was now moved to now head this laudable agency. So it became a problem. Of course, we know of all these drugs, their classes, beginning from alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, cocaine, cannabis, opioid, amphetamine. Although the law of Nigeria, just like you may have it in so many other countries, also classified some of the substances to illegal and some to legal. The law of the regulations here takes cigarettes, nicotine, alcohol, caffeine. They belong to the legal substances. There are some countries that even the alcohol could be illegal, while of course opioids, amphetamine, cocaine, cannabis, they belong to the illegal substances. Now, the fact that a drug is legal does not mean that it is safe. So I always tell my audience that if you look at alcohol, it's even when you look at the side effect profile, it affects the body from the head to the nail. So it cuts its side effect cuts across almost all the systems of the body. Now back to that study, that they also found out that out of every 4 drug users, 1 was a female. That was also alarming, and that they found out that about 376,000 people were currently problem drug users, and out of them, 80,000 inject drug. And this was an alarming result, and that's why Nigeria started looking the way of beginning to find solutions to substance abuse. The side effect and the consequences of drug use cannot be overemphasized. It is spanning from biological in the sense that they could actually cause problems. Medical, that's biological, physical diseases in our body. Take, for instance, hypertension. A lot of them can cause it, cocaine. They can cause cardiovascular problems, respiratory problems, alcohol been found to cause upper and lower GI bleeding, of course, cardiomegaly, and a lot of them. And then for those of them who inject drugs by intravenous method, they also have the risk of developing infections, and these infections, HIV and the hepatitis B and C, it's also becoming a problem. So currently, the government of Nigeria also rolled out a program which we call needle exchange program. Of course, is already ongoing. There are other measures that are also currently ongoing. You heard about the harm reduction program. That needle exchange is one of the harm reduction programs. Now they are talking about medication-assisted stuff, which of course from the resume that was read, I was part of those who developed that guideline. It's a form of replacement therapy for the opioid. Now, it's important to also note that beyond the biological, physical problems, substance abuse is causing a lot of social problems, be it from courtesan, thuggery, family disharmony, to school dropout, reduced productivity, and a lot of them. Now, the problem now, focusing on our youth, of course, you know that study that was done, it was done between ages 15 to 64, but they found out that the age that of most common drug use was the age of between 25 to 39. You can agree with me that this age group forms the bulk of of our workforce. That's in Nigeria, of any country. This age group forms the bulk of the workforce. Now, imagine a situation where the bulk of the workforce is now subsumed under substance abuse. Substance abuse don't help productivity, rather reduces productivity. And so the end result is that our GDP will be low, our productivity across the country will be low, at family level it will be low. You also talk about the hidden losses has gotten deep to addiction. If you take such a person to a hospital because he has developed one medical condition, liver diseases, or maybe renal problem, there will be a family member that will stay there. Of course, for that long period, the family member is staying there. He will be out of his job, of his fending for the family. That's the hidden loss. What about the burden on the limited health facilities that we have in the country? So a lot of challenges present when youth are neck deep into drug, substance or abuse. There are so many things that have caused, that have formed challenges. We talk about, I've earlier mentioned, lack of social amenities. The government has to, of course, be on their toe. I hope you are still hearing me, so I don't go on and on without you hearing me. Let me.
We're hearing you loud and clear all over.
Thank you very much. So the issue of poor social amenities is a problem. Now, unemployment is also is one of the biggest challenges. Majority of the youth you meet, They will tell you, of course, because they are redundant, they were idle, that they could not find anything to do. That's why they took to drug use. And of course, even though that does not lift them up of the blame, because that's not sufficient reason for you to not self-destroy your life. It's important to encourage our leaders to ensure that the unemployment rate is reduced to the barest minimum. It could not be all white-collar jobs. Some people could, of course, take to learning handworks, trade. So it's also important to provide the enabling environment. There should be electricity, basic things that could help drive at least medium-scale businesses and enterprises. We also have problem of stigmatization. Now, it's not only for substance abuse, for umbrella work of mental health. In the society today, they still regard mental disorders as being caused by the gods, demonic forces, by the spirits. The same thing also goes for substance abuse. Of course, you know that drug abuse is one of the subspecialties of mental health. So they still feel that when somebody now is using drugs, they feel that something must have gone wrong in the family. There may be some people somewhere manipulating such an individual. So that stigma does not really allow people to come out to volunteer and, of course, embrace the limited treatment options that we have. Now, we also have problem of inadequate treatment facilities. I also am grateful to the NDLEA. I've been part of the UNODC project supported by the European Union for the past almost going to 7 years. Of course, they are gradually folding, but they have been able to carry everybody along, and the NDLEA have been very focal and formidable in this fight, and of course, how to reduce the prevalence and the burden and the consequences of substance abuse. So you see a lot of the commands, they also do, apart from the mandate of reduction in supply reduction, they also make sure they are adequate in demand reduction. So a good number of them have these facilities that are also providing health services, particularly psychological counseling services for those who are affected by addiction. So the government still have to ensure that a good number of facilities are made available across the country. Now, we have also the challenge of general poverty. Of course, you can see that Nigeria is far, far below the poverty index, even among the Committee of Friends of Countries of Africa. We talk about the less of the world. So a good something has to be done. These are the things, of course, that could be done, that are challenges that must be handled face head neck to if we have to reduce the prevalence of substance abuse. We also talk about some form of laxity of the law, where the NTLA have been doing formidably well, even from the news that was read here. Every day, if you open your television, you'll be hearing seizures of large quantities of hard drugs. And it's kudos to the NDLEA. But other forces, the police, the armies, they have to join in this. Of course, the Navy all have to join. And of course, when this is done, the body in charge of administration of justice also have to sit up, because we hear these seizures every day. We do not get to know what is actually happening to these culprits. I think we should actually know, so that will serve as deterrent for others to at least run away from business of supply, production, and of course possession, and of course eventually use of these drugs. So these are the challenges that have confronted us in when you talk about substance abuse. We need to face this, and we need to face as a challenge, so that we can reduce this prevalence of substance use in among the youths in our country. Remember, I've said that these youths are important. Of course, we always say they are leaders of tomorrow, but agree with me that they are actually leaders of today. And if majority of them have been rendered unproductive because of the side effect or the adverse consequences of drug use, we will not be making any progress as a country. So much has to be done. And that is the only way we can actually progress as a country. I think I will pause here and then, of course, take some questions that may come up. In course of answering some questions that may come up, I may have some one or other two things to talk about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There, awesome presentation from by Dr. Mpobu Abolo Kennedy, Associate Professor of Psychiatry and Consultant Neuropsychiatrist / Mental Health Physician. That was awesome from you. We have, let me also quickly acknowledge Dr. Abdullahi. I think I missed the second name. Dr. Abdullahi is joining us via the handle of Excel Mental Health Foundation. He's also a consultant psychiatrist at Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital in Zaria, where we'll definitely be having Dr. Abdullahi join us for this conversation. Next week, he's our guest speaker, scheduled guest speaker for next week by the grace of God. Thank you, Dr. Abdullahi, for joining us. Thank you. Again, quite a number of people, Perpetua Nnamdi Emmanuel. Thank you, everybody, all of those joining us from the US, America, Europe, Asia, Middle East, and the rest of Africa. And across Nigeria, we have people joining us from different parts of the country. We appreciate your concern and what you are doing to better the lot of our young people. Thank you very much there. Now it's the time to throw the space open, exactly 1 hour to the end. So we still have quite a lot of time if we're able to make our interventions, our questions very sharp and brief. I can see already where seated. Usually when Dr. Kemi Lawyer is seated, I won't just have an option than to pass the microphone to her first for her intervention, contributions, and questions. But then today, it's not an exception. So I'd like to pass the mic to you, Dr. Kemi. Please go ahead. Let's take the first shot from you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Mr. Babafemi. Dr. Kennedy, you're one of the best, if not the best. I know you. You may not know me except from social media, but you are the best. Psychiatrist that has a master's degree in pharmacology. I've been following you for years. I have a question for you, but before I go to that question, real quick, Mr. Babafemi said that we must not bring politics into the discussions, which is what we do every week on this show. I've been here 19 months now, but this topic borders around, you said something in your speech that borders around politics, that unemployment should be made to a bare minimum in the Nigerian youth. Now, I was in Ghana in June and I was also there in August, but during my June assignment, I noticed that in Ghana, they had light all the time, electricity 24 hours. Right 2 weeks there, they only took light one time and they announced it on TV and radio. Okay, that's politics. But what I discovered was the youth in Ghana were working. They had a lot, and it was a drug abuse assignment. They had a lot of businesses to do. There were so many barbershops and the women were selling everything out of a freezer. Everybody was selling chicken, meat, everything frozen. So they were working. I was looking for drugs. I couldn't find Colorado in Ghana. At least I was in Accra, Tema, and Hatcho, 3 places. I couldn't find Colorado anywhere. I was actually looking for Colorado and I was going undercover to look for it like a buyer. Now, that really made me very, very happy. However, the Ghanaian youth were smoking a lot of weed casually. That's maybe because their country is about to pass a law for medicinal uses. It's still under argument in their parliament, but that law actually allows people to grow weed and sell it for medicinal uses. So it's going to be a business between the doctors that are using it medicinally and the weed growers. So now I'm seeing in Ghana, every rapper, every singer wants to grow weed so they can sell it to some doctor. So it becomes like controversial. So that bill is still hanging. However, in Nigeria, a lot of the youth are engaged in a lot of things. And I don't have to list them, you already know. There's a lot of insurgency, security, kidnapping, banditry, name it. Young people We have to put them to work, to focus. But I still think education is the key to solving this problem. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing prevention and education. Okay, I don't do enforcement. A lot of people come to me about enforcement. Education is still the most important thing. And it doesn't mean we have to come to your child's school or we have to come to your child's university. It starts from the home. If we can educate the parents, the schools, the workplaces, and communities will be drug-free. Now, my question to you, Dr. Kennedy. As somebody that has a master's degree in pharmacology, you know pharmacology is the hardest one. Pharmaceutics, pharmacotherapeutics, you know, pharmacology, pharmacognosy, all the courses in pharmacy school, pharmacology is the hardest. And they're still teaching it today at Harvard University, you know, for people who want to refresh. I took that course. My question to you, sir, is how do we address this question of therapeutics? Because it keeps coming on. People are asking me, why is tramadol and codeine still on the market when they're bad drugs? Therapeutic questions. Codeine has been banned in Nigeria. However, the syrup, we need people. My father was drinking codeine for a cough, which was a side effect of Vasotec, enalapril for high blood pressure and stroke. An 88-year-old man will take enalapril to control his blood pressure so that he doesn't get a heart attack or stroke. My father had a stroke, but to contain that cough, he had to drink codeine syrup. It is banned in Nigeria. It is not banned in America. It is not banned in modern country, but it is banned in Nigeria. So kids are still asking the therapeutic question, why do we still have tramadol on the market when it's a bad drug or it's illegal? I keep telling them the same thing. It comes from 50 milligrams to 250. Only 50 is legal in Nigeria, but we're seeing 220, 200, and 250 coming in from all these illegal channels. The NDLEA sees 4.8 billion was last week. How do we address what therapeutics means to the ordinary layman public? Didn't go to school. Like, these drugs are for something. Like fentanyl is here in America. Fentanyl, we're trying to tell people fentanyl is for pain management, but it ended up on the streets. How do you recommend Nigerians, parents, professionals to answer this question? That's my question, sir. Thanks, Dr. Kennedy.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether the organizer will allow us take a number of questions, or I should answer as they come.
No, just go ahead as they come. Like, just go ahead as they come, so that we don't mix things up.
All right. Thank you very much. You went beyond asking questions. It was also some contributions, and I so admire that. Thank you very much. But let me try not to miss some of the things you talked about. The issue of health education, I think that's cardinal, and of course we try to do that at every forum that we have an opportunity. But we have been, beyond that, we have been advocating that this course, substance abuse, should be made formal in the Nigerian educational curriculum. We have been pushing that. It's not, they will just mention casually in one or two courses, sociology and all that. It's not a formal course. So we are saying that this course should be imbued, even from as long as the young ones will begin to appreciate from primary school, because I agree with me that substance abuse has been crept into as low as our primary schools. You begin to see them smoking cigarette and cannabis as far as that place. And of course, secondary school, the worst, and the university is, of course, the worst. And all these people, they become victims, they become vulnerable because they have not been primed, they don't have enough information about this. So their peers can easily push down. Education is the key, and not just the little opportunities we have during public health education, public talk, just like we are doing. It goes beyond that. So the Nigerian government should, as a matter of urgency, add this into the curriculum of the Nigerian government, as the educational curriculum from primary as far as that is possible, secondary, and of course university. It should be a taught course. This will help vulnerable youth or those that would have been vulnerable, having armed with the adverse consequences of this drug, they will be able to stand their chance when their peers who are already deep necked into substance abuse want to push them to the other side. And of course, you talk about basic amenities. I've mentioned that light on. I also feel that the countries you talk about, if you look at it very well, some of those countries, they have these courses already pushed into their curricula. Ghana, Kenya, and that's what we are trying to do here. Now back to growing of the medicinal weed. Now, of course, you can, if you are listening very well, there was a recent time past where Nigeria was about to embark on that mission to legalize cannabis because they found out that when they were pushing that law, some of us, especially the Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria and some other civil societies organizations, we were not very comfortable with that law being passed at the National Assembly. So we continue to tell them that the species of cannabis that is in the country is the worst species, is the most dangerous species. And so when before you now legalize cannabis, because some other countries have legalized, you should now understudy the type of, or get to know the species of cannabis they have. That's the safest form of cannabis. We call it medical cannabis. And that's why they send some of their lawmakers to one of these countries to understudy that. Now, after that, that mission or that process of legalization have been silent for now. I don't know what stage they are for now. And then finally, the issue of therapeutics. Yes, that also takes me to the laxity of the law. You are still wondering why the permissible dose of codeine is at 50 milligrams, but you see 200, just like you said. Where do you think this is coming from? Is it not from our borders? Is it not from the fact that our laws are a bit lax, or the enforcers are also not doing so much? They are not doing their best, because that's exactly where it's coming from. They say this in the chemists, small shops, even without permission. I still say that NDLE is doing a lot, but at this point we should also still say that a lot has to be done, because I step up from where I am now. The next 2-3 shops we find them selling this non-prescribed prescription medication. So that's the problem. Our laws, our regulations have to be strengthened. Everybody has to stand up. And then, of course, I spoke about the fact that when you arrest, what happens next? We should be hearing what happens to these people. Our borders should not be porous. The custom, the NDLE, the immigration, the police, all of them have to work together. And of course, the community, civil society organization, the churches, is not a one-man fight anymore. Everybody has to stand up to fight this menace of substance abuse. And a bit of education have to be talking about, where these people, of course, who fall victims into using drugs when they are not prescribed to, depend on use codeine, pentazocine. I think education will also go a long way to addressing that. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Kennedy, I'm done. I'm just going to continue listening, but please, can you tell everybody listening the species, I know you guys call it species, the species of marijuana that's preventing Nigeria from legalizing for medicinal uses. I always tell the youth it's the one that's smoking loud, and loud has now been associated with heart disease at Stanford Medicine. Please explain that to them, please.
Yeah, the species that we have in this country from researches that have been done from those in pharmacology and plant science have proven that it is the dangerous species, the hashish. The hashish is the dangerous species, not we don't have that here. So that's what they form into different forms, the loud, the monkey tail, the alcohol, Arizona, those are all the forms into which they take these drugs. Even they mix it with amphetamine. So when some people come to us and they say, I've never taken cannabis or I take cannabis, I've never said amphetamine. They don't know that they mix all this. They mix it into Arizona, into loud, and of course, you know the amphetamine that is here now is of course the ice. That's one thing I would have said, that the COVID did not actually do us too much of good as it has to do with substance abuse, because that period there was so much restriction that those who were already dependent on the drug, they were restricted. They could not move from one point to the other. And of course, as is always said, that necessity is the mother of invention. They decided to form artisanal laboratories. They are formed everywhere now. NTL is quite aware of, and they have been doing a lot to demolish some of these factories. So they have decided to produce most of these drugs in the local village factories, where they form these chemical amphetamines called ice. They also call it Mborimeni. That's the most prevalent, almost about the most prevalent drug that is affecting our youth now. So they mix quantities of this with cannabis, which of course I've told you that is the bad species, the hashish. That's the bank. Those are the ones we have. We don't have medical marijuana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear. Dr. Nkwobu Abolo Kennedy, Associate Professor of Psychiatry and Consultant Neuropsychiatric Mental Health Physician. Thank you for the explanations there. I'm sure quite a lot of people on the space would have benefited, and those who will still listen to this, though the recording would definitely gain something from those explanations. Thank you once again. Before I come to Commander Bashir Ibrahim, there is a pathetic message in our DM. I would like our Professor of Psychiatry to please listen to this. This is, okay, I'll just, let me just call his first name. His full name is actually sending this message on his handle at Olajide is his name, but then his message, let me read it to you, doctor, so that you can react to that. I have been struggling with opioid addiction for over 6 years. I find it hard to live without popping down couples of pills every day to fit into the society. Been thinking my life is at edge of collapsing. Suicide thoughts gushes into my mind. Addiction been heavy on my shoulder like an anvil. I am hoping to see light at the end of the tunnel. I am tired of everything. I hated myself for being so useless to humanity. Addiction took everything from me. Wow, that's a deep one. Doctor, what would you say to this? Please, Dele, please note his handle is in our DM. Olajide Ababi. Note his handle. I'd like to speak with him. Please get in touch with him. I'd like to speak with him. But then, Dr. Kennedy, what would you have to say to this heavy one from this young man?
All right, thank you, sir, and thank you, Mr. Olajide, for your sincerity coming out to openly say this. I commend you for that. Well, that's one of the problems of addiction. Yeah, let me console you that before now, the problem of stigmatization have been that bad, but it's no longer that bad now. People are encouraged to come out to seek for help, those who have addiction problem. It's no longer time to regard addiction as a character flaw. You are not a bad child of the family. Some people say you have offended the gods and all. No, it's no longer that. We have clearly known now that addiction is a disease. So when we talk about the science of addiction, it is a disease, and of course a chronic relapsing one. That's why again the NDLEA, they spread their tentacle, no longer hammering on demand supply. I mean, mandate of supply. They are also now focusing on mandate of demand reduction. So everybody is joining this fight now. The police, before now, of course, if they hear that you have problem of drug, they will come and arrest you. But today they help people and bring people to addiction centers. So it's no longer that bad. So what I will encourage you, yeah, the fact that you have known the extent to which addiction or opioid use had crippled your life, it's important now that you take a bold step to come out and seek for help. So I don't know which state you are, but I guess we have facilities now, even though they are still limited. We have facilities almost in all the states where they can address your addiction problem. You can choose to be a day outpatient. You can choose to be inpatient. Just look for a professional. And of course, one thing I will encourage you to have, which I perceive here now, is motivation. For you to come out to say this, I guess that you possess enormous motivation, because that's one key to success. And I'm already seeing that you have that now. Let that motivation be encouraged to continue. Take that motivation, go to any health professional, especially those that are professional in addiction, counseling psychologists, psychiatrists, those who specialize in addiction. They will help you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, dear Dr. Kennedy. Thank you for the response, and we can assure Olajide Abayomi. I've asked one of my colleagues to contact you. We'll definitely do the best we can to support you, to assist you, and get you back on your feet. I hope I'm still live. I hope. Okay, now let's come back to our own Bashir Ibrahim. Then after him, we'll come to Bashir Ibrahim. Please unmute yourself. Let's hear from you. And after that, I'll come to Dr. Abdullahi. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good evening, DMA, for allowing me into the space this evening. Dr. Kennedy, that was a good one you've given us, and I really appreciate Dr. Oluloyo for always being a co-presenter, not just the speaker or a listener. I always learn one or two things from whatever she said. Briefly, to the question Dr. Oluloyo asked about Nigerian cannabis thereabout. Yeah, there is quite a big difference between ours and what is grown over there. We grow out in the tropics, and it contains 9-tetrahydrocannabinoid, which is very addictive. That distinct hours out from what you get from other areas, especially in the West, where what they grow is mainly contain cannabinoid, and the most of them they grow it in a greenhouse, so it's not exposed to the soil. They can use it for medicinal purpose, which mainly research has shown that probably in this helping out on seizure issue. But the question still remains: at what stage do you stop when you are using it for medication, and what is the long-term effect? I've not read any research that actually has given us a good solution or a good answer to that. That's on that. Let's talk about the issue of demand reduction and supply reduction. Globally, there is nowhere that you can cut out the supply of illicit substances. Criminals are always ahead of you. If you follow keenly the executive report of UNODC on manufacturing of especially cocaine and heroin, those ones they can kind of put it up on. Less than 20% is being confiscated or being taken away from the market. That's the quantity of those drugs that are being produced globally. So the same thing in Nigeria here. It's not easy. The criminals are always ahead. And cutting supply reduction, investigation, carrying intelligence, surveillance, operation, the logistics, everything involved are quite huge. That's why the slogan always go: prevention is better than cure. So what I still feel is what Doctor actually talked about. All hands has to be on deck. When you talk about the family, the government, the community, the religious leaders, the opinion leaders, the traditional rulers, all hands has to come back to be on deck so that we can actually address this issue in terms of sensitization, awareness, and focus. Now, going to the schools, especially the youths, which are a kind of major problem here. There's always one thing I always do. When I get to a new command, I try to carry out a research. It will interest you to know that I just got to Kwara last month, and I tried to analyze from January to June the arrest and seizures, the rehabilitation, the counseling, the brief intervention, monitoring they've done. And now observe that out of the total number of over 220 something, 27 suspects that are arrested related to substance use, 85% of them fall between the age of 14 and 40 years. The same thing goes for when you talk about those that have gone through our center, those that were resident clients and those that comes in and go out. 89% of them fall between the same age bracket. I told the executive governor, this is sad. Whereas even the UNODC survey already shows that Kwara State is leading in North Central with 30% prevalence rate. So what are we talking about? Sensitization, education is the way out. Then coming to schools, we have to build the capacity of our teachers. Evidence also has shown that one-off sensitization is not working. I carry my team, I go to the school, I talk to them. How many schools have they able to visit a year? But when you build the capacity of the teachers, they are relating with these students trust them. Whatever subject they are doing, since drug education has been collocated into all those subjects, they'll be able to talk about drug issue. Then the teachers too will be, their capacity will be built in terms of enabling the environment for students to study, positive classroom climate, positive school environment climate, and enforcing the United Nations ban on 30 or 50 meters radius of a substance that can abuse within the school radius. So I believe the agency is still working on with the Ministry of Education. I'm sure we'll get somewhere. But my take here is, I think prevention is the key and education is the way out. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much there. Dr. Kennedy, would you want to say something to that, or we should go to your colleague who is waiting already?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Bashiru, for your very educative contribution. That was nice. It was not really a question, but you were re-emphasizing some of the things that have been said. And thank you for mentioning that tetrahydrocannabinol, of course, that's the agent that is, we are saying that is bad in the one we have here. You ended by saying that education, prevention, of course, is the key. So thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Kennedy, our guest speaker today. I have another consultant psychiatrist, a mental health physician who is joining us from Kaduna State, and that is Dr. Abdullah. Doc, please can you unmute yourself and let's listen to you.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Prof. It's good to hear my teacher speak today on this platform.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I would say, really, we have a peculiar problem or peculiar situation in the country. If you look at the UNODC figures, in my opinion, are very conservative, because if you look at actually the real problem we are seeing every day, in fact, the prevalence is much higher than what we have with the UNODC. The reason being that a lot of the drugs that are being used by our youth, some of them are not even the conventional substances. You know, like I said the other day, in this part of the country, we have had situation where young men will go into a gutter, sniff the gutter until they become high. The other day, I was in a filling station. Somebody came and opened somebody's fuel tank, his machine fuel tank, and started sniffing it. You know, so I was asking, they said, I know, they do sniff it to get high. Some people will take this, the feces of a lizard, that white part of it, they remove it, grind it, sniff it, and get high. So we have a lot of these things they do that are not conventional, that are not taken into consideration, but these things are causing serious damage to the youth, truly. If you look at the brain, in fact, it doesn't finish developing completely, especially the frontal part of the brain, until about mid-30s to late 30s. So when these youth use these substances, in fact, it can change the brain both structurally and functionally in a very serious fundamental ways. And that is why we say mental illness and substance use They are so related, bi-directional relationship. Each of them can lead to the other. So I would think that just the way the country put in so much effort to fight the scourge of HIV when it was a big problem with us, I think we need to do that. We really need to do a lot. In fact, NDLE is doing a lot. The fight need to be taken to the baseline, the community level. People need to understand what is really happening, the damage this thing is doing to us. If you look at mental health in totality, for example, you can see the importance we are giving it in this country. For example, Prof can bear me witness that just about 1% of the health budget goes to mental health. And with the teeming population of youth we have going into substances, I'm telling you, they are going to overwhelm the system. In fact, the system is already overwhelmed. Our best bet is prevention. And we really need to go to the community level. The government, the community, everybody need to wake up and do what we need to do to stop this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much there, Dr. Abdullahi, joining us. Okay, please, Prof, you can go ahead. If you need to
Thank
speak
you
to
very
what
much,
Dr.
Abdullahi, for your laudable contributions. That was good enough. Yes, you mentioned, you have on the fact that newer substances are emerging every day, particularly from the class you mentioned now, the volatile substances. And you are very, very correct, yes. Even they've gone as far as folding dry purple leaf, and they fold it and smoke, and of course they get high. So the youths are on the mission of looking for anything that can make them high. So of course those things, they act on the brain, as you have said. The situation is actually bad, so bad that as we have in our hand now, it warrants it being declared as a pandemic. I don't know what we are waiting for, because we have a very serious situation in our hand now. It's a time bomb. When majority of our youths are heading towards substance use, substance abuse, it's a time bomb. So as you concluded, we should urgently address. I use the word again, urgently address. If not, it is a time bomb. It should be declared as a pandemic. Thank you very much, Abdullahi there.
Thank you very much, Professor Nkwobu Abolo Kennedy, our Prof of Psychiatry and consultant neuropsychiatrist, as well as mental health physician. He's joining us from the Garden City, responding to the contribution also from another consultant psychiatrist, that is who is joining us from Zaria. Thank you all for all you are doing to educate our young people, so that together we can save lives. All right, we move quickly to who? Okay, let's come back to our DM again. Dr. Kennedy, please. You may have to. I have three questions. If you have a paper and a barrel there that you can use to know this, just three questions in one. Just one person. I don't want to break it. Just one person is asking the three questions. So just please note them so that you can take them together. Then I'll come back to the space to invite somebody else to speak again. The time is running fast against us. Okay, this one is from Essien. The treatment of mental health disorders are quite costly, especially for treatment that requires medication. How can mental health advocates support youth with subsidy of medication so that they can better access treatment? That is one. Two, the second part of the question of Essien is what recommendations do you have to those working in the spheres of youth and drug use to change their perception on drug use using the health belief model of overcoming perceived severity? Let me take that again. What recommendations do you have to those working in the area of youth and drug use to change their perception on drug use using the health belief model of overcoming perceived severity? And lastly, from Essen, as a psychiatrist, what has been the most effective approach you have taken to improve the treatment of mental health in the demography of youth? I believe those are clear. Dr. Kennedy, please go ahead if you got them.
Thank you very much. Uh, yeah, thank you very much, ACM, for your interesting questions. Where, yeah, we quite agree with you that the treatment of mental disorders and, of course, substance abuse, that's addiction, they are they are costly. Um, well, what have we been doing as professionals, medics in the field of addiction? We've been trying our best. Sometimes when we meet those who are very indigent, we try what we can do. What we can do, as little as may be, sometimes when they don't have money to eat, we dip hand in our pockets. If a particular drug is needed and we see indigent people, patient, we also assist. But how many people do you think we can extend that help to? Remember that I mentioned poverty, general poverty, as one of the challenges in the country. So a country where majority of people are poor, are afflicted by poverty, and you now look at the number that is falling prey to either mental disorder or substance abuse. How many? Look at us, those who are working in this field of addiction. We are very, very few. How many can we help? I don't want to go further to say, to talk about the crowd. Look at our own, what we are receiving for the work we are getting. We are still part of the medical doctors who, of course, you are hearing every day they are going on strike, asking for better pay. So we can only do the much we can because we have other responsibilities, and that's what we have been doing. And that is why we see fall back to the fact that looking at how God has blessed us in this country, if our resources are better managed, you can attest to the fact that some of these people, they could be able they could be helped. Now to your second question, how could those working in addiction? Well, every specialty has its own regulations and ethics. It's important to mention that for you to work in addiction, you must understand or must have been trained. That's why those seeking for addiction services, you have to also be sure that you are seeking help or medical services, addiction service from those who have the requisite certification. Because if you don't do that, and then you go to those who don't have the knowledge, who have not, they may not be able to do what they are supposed to do. So the only way we can ensure that, to ensure that those who work in addiction services, they should be trained. Today, many people are carried along, especially this UNODC project. They carry the civil society organizations, some NGOs, they train them, and I believe the capacity has actually, the capacity this works for has improved through that. But it's important that you should listen to ensure that you don't not train. And then what's the most effective treatment modalities are that will be useful or has been most effective. Now, basically, treatment for addiction is either outpatient, as we have been taught, but there are criteria to decide whether somebody should be inpatient or outpatient. One is what I've earlier mentioned. If somebody is not motivated and you are that motivated and you are using outpatient, you are wasting your of the people. So to me, uh, gathering from my experience, I feel that majority of people I've met are those who in denial, or the families are in denial. God forbid, it's not my portion. My child cannot use.
Okay, I think okay, is Dr. Kennedy, can you hear me? It's like your network froze again. Um, but thank God we have Dr. Abdullah in the house. Let me. Okay, I think we eventually lost him there. He would come back. Dr. Kennedy, please come back so that we can uh, approve you to have the mic again. But then let's quickly. I have another patriotic Kemi in the house, and this time let me invite her to make her contributions or ask her question. This time is not Dr. Kemi Lawyer. This Kemi is Kem Patriots. Is a patriotic Kem. Kem, please unmute yourself. Let's hear from you.
A very good evening to you, Mr. Obafemi. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. A very good evening to my namesake, Dr. Loyo, and of course to Mahmood and every other person on the space. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. I missed a bit of the conversation, but I just wanted to react to the topic, mental health and challenge of substance abuse among Nigerian youth. I know that today many Nigerian youth have on their hands the mobile phones and all of that, and can access things that those of us who grew up in the 80s, could not access in terms of information, contacts, and all of that. But I do recall that back in the 80s, there was a lot of fear when it comes to anything drugs. What we used to get back then was once you touch drugs, you go crazy. I don't know why we cannot reenact that today. Today, about someone is asking about the prices or the cost of the drugs to treat mental health, mental illnesses. I think that one of the things we may need to start paying attention to is a lot of that. I know that the NDLEA is doing a fantastic job, with advocacy, but maybe the advocacy should take the form of backtracking. Let people see what it looks like to have a mental health problem. Let them see what becomes of them when they have a mental health problem, even if it's going to be like an acting or a movie, a short movie or something, and then let them see the cost that it will take to keep them sane after they themselves, even though this is not to say that everybody who has a mental health challenge is as a result of drugs, but let them see the costs that it takes to be normal after using their own hands to get into drugs by themselves. I think that if we start to, because I recall that back in the days when I was much younger, the first thing they tell you when you see someone who's walking
are you old now, Kem? So you are still a young, pretty lady.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ofemi. The truth is, I at least I grew up in the 80s. I'm still young, but then back in the 80s, growing up was different from what it is today, right? I think that if we start to give, because we are past the stage where we are still trying to help people understand that this thing can drive you nuts, and there's only a limit to what your family will suffer for you. To say, okay, let's help you, let's pay your way, let's get you the drugs. Why put them through that? So I'm thinking that one of the things we should do in terms of advocacy, it's a good thing Naira Marley came to visit the NDLEA recently, is to go to these people who have been on drugs. ask them to please tell their stories. Medically, you cannot ask patients in the hospital, to show their face, but maybe get the doctors who are treating them to say how much it costs to at least take care or flush their system for about 60 days, 90 days, and how many of them cannot even get back to a normal life. How many of them are just existing and have lost a chance to actually live a meaningful life. Some of them are able to come back fine, but at least, if we give enough information as to how much pain these people cost their families, how much sorrow they cost the people who love them, how much they themselves lose the vitality of life and just start to exist instead of living. I think that maybe these young people will understand that drugs is not anything to play with, and the truth is some families are lucky. They can afford to keep them in these rehabs and all of that, money that they should use to do other things for themselves. Some families are not lucky. At some point, the addict is kicked out. And they say, the Yorubas will say, okay, you say this child don't kill me, this child don't kill me. At some point, you will get to a point where this child don't kill yourself. I have tried for you, I brought you to this life. I didn't ask you to go and do drugs, just do what you want to do and, don't kill me. I need to survive myself. So I think that may help in a way. Okay, I think Dr. Abolo is back. I think that may help in a way to, jerk the youth up into understanding that drugs is not something you play with. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Dr. Barafemi, and thank you very much to everyone for your time. Of course, my namesake, much love.
Thank you very much. Much love to you too, Kem Kem. I know Kem Kem is everywhere. Each time I open my X and I see any space going on, she must be there, either listening or speaking. So sometimes I ask myself, does Kem Patriot actually rest or sleep at all? Thank you and it's all about making her contributions to the development of our country. Thank you very much for your time always. But I'd like to say something to what she said. I can tell Kem Kem that indeed we have that program she refers to, that is getting people that have gone through substance use disorder or addiction, those that are recovering. We actually have a program where we have featured them. We used to have a 30-minute magazine program on NTA network service until the cost made us to lose bread. But fortunately, we are back on track with NTA now. We're having some partnership. The station is the management of the station has really come forward to support the agency. So you would be seeing quite a lot of things that because we don't have all the resources to do all of that. But then NTA is coming forth to support the fight, especially advocacy. We have a strong partnership now, and there will be quite a lot of those things that Kem Kem is talking about. That's far as I can say to that. Okay, thank you. Dr. Kennedy is back. Doc, did you hear? I mean, we lost you at the point. Did you hear her contribution, or we should go to? We still have quite a lot. Okay, I can see. I can see Dr. Abdullah is still raising up his hand. Dr. Abdullah, would you want to say something quickly?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to respond to the issue raised that mental health treatment is costly and stuff like that. Like Prof said, quite all right, it is very costly, and the reasons are not far-fetched, and that is the more reason why we should do a lot to prevent this substance use. If you look at the whole country, for example, we have just about 300 psychiatrists. Only a fraction of them are into management of substance use disorders. So even if you have the money, sometimes having access is a problem. And I want people to understand that every person you see, every vagrant you see on the road that we refer to as mad people, there was a time that person's family were doing everything they could to get that person well. But there is something we call caregiver fatigue in mental health. Because mental illnesses usually they require long time treatment. So no matter how much your family love you, there come a time when they give up, they get fatigued, and then they just leave that person. It's not like that anybody you see on the street just got mad and then he was on the street. No. A lot has been done for that person, but eventually, the people that were supporting that person tired, just let go. So it is best not to allow it happen than to go into it and thereafter look for solution. Our best bet is prevention. So that's what I just wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much there, Dr. Abdullah. You have a full 40 minutes this time next week to speak to us. I will be glad because I know you speak eloquently and you have a lot to offer. And so would for those of us, we're yet to unveil the topic, but then for those of us still interested in listening to our psychiatric doctors and mental health physician, we have another one waiting for you next week, and that's Dr. Abdullah of the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital Zaria, who would be joining us here. Thank you very much for all that you do with just 300 in Nigeria and a few specializing in substance abuse, or few into substance use treatment. That's very tough. Okay, now let's take the next contribution or question. Let me quickly, we have barely 10 minutes more. Okay, let's hear from Berula. Berula, are you in for this? Berula, okay, if Berula is not ready.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, I'm here.
Please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Okay. Yeah, you are audible. Please go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. And thanks for giving me the opportunity. Baba Femi, I've been in a few. I think this will be my third time on this space, and I'm really glad you people are doing things like this. Let me start by saying it was a wonderful presentation from Dr. Kennedy and excellent contribution from the consultant from Kaduna. Sorry, I've forgotten your name. The excellent to have.
Dr. Abdullah. He's Dr. Abdullah.
Yes, Dr. Abdullah. As a word of short introduction, I'm a doctor myself, Nigerian trained, background, mental health and addiction associate specialist currently in the UK. I've been in addiction for the last 7 years, so I'm on the front line, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's disheartening when I look at the news every day and when I see even family members who are experiencing the scourge of drugs. I'm going to leave the mental health part of it aside because we know what the problem is right there. But just in a nutshell, to say that it's been an excellent presentation. The key point, just to reiterate what everyone has talked about, including Dr. Oluloyo, I've heard you speak on a few occasions, and you're a very, very good speaker, I must say. The key things about the contributions I want to make about addiction is we always remember it is chronic, it is remitting, it's a relapsing condition. We always hear, like I said, I'm on the front line, we always hear try to get people to know they are not alone in this situation. There is help, there is recovery, which can be medical, can be psychosocial, like Dr. Kennedy had spoken about. One of the things I have experienced UK, Europe, and America in terms of addiction, one of the things we're doing now, let me just add this, my local services, which I'm part of the managerial type, managing, we have over 1,100 currently in prescribing. That's math. Dr. Kennedy spoke about substitute prescribing. And there's more on the PSI. PSI will be the psychosocial. That's only my local service. The organization I'm with, we are having this same support and treatment for over 33,000 around UK and Britain. We are the largest, it's non-governmental, but most of what we do the government part. And we contribute a lot into the policies and procedure. And currently, one of the things that's happening here is the wraparound support. Again, Dr. Kennedy, Dr. Babafemi had spoken about things like this. So looking at providing support, and when I say support, it's different when you're in the classroom. We provide support, not just for the individual, but Dr. Babafemi there mentioned about family fatigue. We also have support for the family because it's chronic. We know it's going to come back at some point, but we build that into our plan. But anyway, the other thing that I just want to add to all the excellent contribution is, I'm sure the Professor Kennedy and Dr. Babafemi would agree, there are situations where you have adverse childhood situations, experiences that go on in life to impact and increase the risk and predispose people to things like drug abuse, things like depression, things like psychosis, things like incarceration, things like committing crimes. So it's not just the youth that we should be looking at. We also look at the whole family, what's going on there. If you're providing the awareness, if you're providing the education, we look at the whole family. And then when we get to the point where there are people who have developed the illnesses, Professor Kennedy had talked about harm reduction. I am a champion of harm reduction. I know a lot about harm reduction. They are simple things, but when you talk about it over and over again, it begins to make sense to people. People begin to understand it. But anyway, I don't want to take too much of your time. Just a simple contribution and to say I'm loving this space, and I'll make sure I keep locked on when I'm free. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much there. Dr. Ben joined us from the UK. We appreciate you, and we look forward to having your contributions, support on the program for the benefit of our young people, Nigerians, and humanity as a whole. Thank you once again. Wow, we just have 4 minutes. Okay, I approve this last person. Let's hear from him or her, from her, Mr. Warishop. Mr. Warishop, quickly, just 30 seconds. Mr. Warishop.
Hello, good evening, and thank you for this space, and I really appreciate this. I actually joined you guys very late, and as I saw NDLE here, I decided to listen. I'm not a doctor, I'm an engineer by training, but I've been to humanitarian service for a while. Now, in my city, in Warrior, it is crazy the number of people that you see over time that turn from bad to worse, all in the name of drugs. So what I decided to do on my own is sometimes take this advocacy to my place of worship, and man, it's heartbreaking. You know, when you talk to maybe 10 youths, 7, 8 are under this influence of drugs, and most of them really want to come out, but maybe there's not enough advocacy, there's not enough knowledge about it. They get into it from peer group and what have you. So I just think you guys are doing very well, fantastically well, and maybe we should just keep it up and keep talking. Like the other lady said, Mrs. Kem or Dr. Kem, this thing were not like this in the 80s and in the 90s. It was like when they tell the ladies then, don't allow a man touch you. Once they touch you, you get pregnant. It was the same scare. But now everybody wants to exploit. Everybody are into adventure and what have you. So I just want to say a big thank you. I appreciate this space, and God bless you. Keep doing what you're doing. Whenever you help, I'll join you guys.
Thank you very much there, Mr. Warishaw. Thank you for the words of encouragement, commendation, and your own contribution, especially what you are doing in your local area in Warri there. Like we often say on this show, that every one of us, this what the agency, the NDLA is doing is the strategy we have adopted is a whole society approach to get everybody on board, whether you are a mechanic, a technician, engineer, whoever you may be, a religious leader, a traditional ruler, a villager, whoever you may be, as long as you have this information, as long as you have this basic information that you can share with your neighbor, with that little child, with that woman, with that lady, with that young person, with that students around you, about the dangers of abusing illicit substances, please let's continue to do that. Let's continue to share this information, facts about substance abuse, so that we can save as many lives as possible. And that's our point, the point where we have to draw the curtain today. But before we do that, Kennedy back, I'm sure he has some serious issues with his network then. But then let's once again thank our guest speaker today, Dr. Nkwobu Apollo Kennedy. He is an associate professor of psychiatry and consultant neuropsychiatrist / mental health physician. He works at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. He's quite, I'll tell you, those who joined us earlier, when I read, when I read his profile, the abbreviated version of his profile, in fact, anybody having issues with substance abuse or mental health challenge, you almost get well almost immediately, because that's a very rich resume. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Kennedy. Again, we'd like to thank another consultant psychiatrist, that Dr. Abdullahi, who joined us from the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, Zaria. Of course, Dr. Abdullahi will be our guest on this show next Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Please let's midweek next week we won't be unveiling the topic that we'll be treating, but before then, just let's keep it. Let's keep that date and the time. Every week we come like this, we share information, we share facts, and enlighten ourselves so that we can take. It's also a recorded program, so that as many that we couldn't follow through can always go back to it and listen to it, and even share with others, so that those who couldn't be part of the conversation can also benefit. We also appreciate Dr. Ben, who joined us from the UK. I'm sure someday very soon would also be reaching out to him to be part of, to lead one of our conversations. Thank you once again, Dr. Ben, joining us from the UK. Thank you, our regular, a senior member of this platform, Dr. Kemiolu Lawyer, who is temporarily a member of the diaspora in the US. Dr. Kemiolu Lawyer, thank you very much for your time always. Thank you for another patriotic Kemi, that's Kem Patriot, Kem. Thank you very much for your time always. The energy is, her energy is unparalleled. I'll tell you, her energy is unparalleled, and I'm usually very interested in people that are so committed and patriotic. Thank you, Kem, for your time today. Thank you, Olakunle Abiodun, Event MC, Maestro Bashir, our own commander in Kwara State, Bashir Ibrahim. Thank you, our zonal commander in Akure, Parabawa. Thank you, Engineer Kisley Okafo. Thank you, Farouk A. Femi Adeolu, Perpetua. And unfortunately, Perpetua today, we couldn't take you. I know you always contribute every week, but let's take it till next week. Thank you, Perpetua and Namdi Manda. I have my eyes on Perpetua. She's very committed, and definitely would be working with her very soon by the grace of God. Thank you, Sharif Moore. Thank you, Habib Muhammad Madugu. Thank you, Olajide Abayomi, who sent that message in our DM. we'll definitely be reaching out to Olajide Abayomi to provide him support, whatever we can do to get him back to be able to overcome his addiction or his challenge. Will definitely do for him. Please, one of our officers will be sending you DM. Please respond and let's have a direct contact with you. We'll definitely provide you the needed support, assist you so that you can get over this. Thank you, Omar Usma, Mr. Warishop. Thank you, everyone. I cannot mention all the names, but then, yeah, we have quite a lot of people on this space. And for those that have been in and out, we appreciate you. By the grace of God, this time next week, we will be coming your way again at 3 to 5 p.m. local time to discuss another great topic. Once again, don't forget our call center, that's the NDLA call center. We have a toll-free helpline there that you can call to get support, to get, teletherapy. And we have mental health experts, counselors, psychologists, psychiatric doctors, as well as our psychotherapists, all of them running, working 24/7 at the call center. Please feel free. This really has been able to take care or remove the fear of stigmatization. Nobody will judge you. Nobody will stigmatize you. Nobody will call you names. We don't even to know your name. All our experts are professionals. All they need is engaging with you, knowing the problem and providing solutions, assisting you. And if you need to check into a rehab, they will guide you appropriately and follow up with you. That's the helpline, the toll-free helpline, once again, is a 12-digit helpline. Please let's know that it's not 11 digits, not the usual GSM line, 11 digits. No, this is a 12-digit helpline. It's 0800, that's 0800 10203040. Please let's have that in mind and let's call the line to seek help, either you directly or for your loved ones, your friends, whoever may be in need of help. Until I come your way next week again, my name is Femi Babafemi. I'm your regular host. And now I'd like to thank all my colleagues here at the other end who have been quiet behind the scenes supporting me. Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Shidi. Thank you, Musa. Thank you, Mahmoud. Mahmoud is in another location. Thank you, Baridele. Thank you, Val. Thank you, Philemon. Thank you, Kumbi. Blessing, regular newscaster. Thank you, all of our guys, Charity, everyone who have been part of the space today. I appreciate all of you guys, including those I couldn't mention their names now. Please stay safe and enjoy your weekend. I'll leave Mahmoud.
Thank you very much, sir. And as you rightly said, this brings us to the end of the program. For more information about the agency, our listeners can visit our social media platforms, www.ndla, visit our website, www.ndla.gov.ng, and perhaps our social media platforms.
Hello, doctor. Can I get the tramadol for the road? Body they pay me oh. Make I check your body, then I will tell you what you need. Hello, doctor. I know it's the way to. I know it's the way to. Wait to make I check your body, then I go tell you what you need. Hello, doctor. No need to check me. I know say now waiting my body need. Is it your body? I don't feel wait. my body. I need your help before it's too